Hi everyone, this is Sasha from Women's Fight News, sponsored by Champions Memorabilia. I'm joined today by pro boxer Laura Payne. Laura, how are you doing?
Yeah, all good, thank you. How are you? You all right?
Yeah, not too bad, not too bad. Not enjoying the weather today at all. It's not stopped raining here.
It's horrible, isn't it? Here it's bad as well.
Yeah.
So, it's horrible. I hate the rain as well. It makes you all cold, doesn't it?
Yeah, dark nights are in and all of that. But so you've just been for a run. So obviously you're coming to the end of your camp.
Yeah, nearly there.
How has camp been?
All good, to be honest with you. Obviously, if ever you speak to somebody like a boxer, they'll say, "Oh, the camp's been the best it's ever been." They're always going to say that.
Yeah.
This camp, obviously, you get little things happen. You know, you get maybe like a sparring partner will pull through whatever, but it's been good. It's been as good as what it could possibly be for this fight. It's been very, very good.
Yeah, because you do, like you've just said, every boxer, and it's, you know, every boxer I speak to coming up to their fighters, obviously they're going to have to, they can't be like, oh, camp's been really shit, but I've got a fight coming up.
Yeah, exactly that.
But obviously, you know, having a good camp is so important, getting that confidence going into that fight. And obviously you're fighting Sunday, isn't it, that you're fighting?
Yeah, Sunday, yeah.
So tell us all the details about that fight.
So it's in Serbia, boxing a good girl actually. She's like shared the ring with two former world champions. On paper, she's had a lot more experience than me as a pro. I don't know what she's done amateur wise, but as a pro, she's had, which is like, amateurs are important. But when you go pro, it is a complete different ball game. Do you know what I mean? So you can't judge somebody on previous experience as an amateur when they go pro. Really, you can sort of see how much experience they've had. But in terms of pro experience, she's had a lot. So you know, she's been in the ring with good girls. She's come off two good strong wins as well. So I'm expecting like a tough fight.
And is that what you want? Because obviously you're 2-0 at the minute. This is your third fight. Are you wanting to just kind of like get in the deep end and fight these experienced opponents?
100%. Because if I don't put myself in the ring with these tough girls, these ones that are on paper higher than me, I'm not going to climb up. Do you know what I mean? You know, I want to box the best girls. Obviously, you've got to take it steady, and you've got to obviously like go step by step. But in terms of a step like this is a very, very good step for me. I've been offered a belt, an international title, my third pro fight. Not many people can say that. So I'm not one to sort of sit there and say, oh well, I've only had 3 fights, whatever. Like, no, I'm going to box. I'm going to give it everything I can, and I believe I've done everything to win this belt.
Yes, yeah. Do you think in boxing, maybe more so women's boxing, there's at times there's fighters who, you know, they've turned over and they can be a little bit slow at progressing? You know, you've just said, you know, your third fight, you're fighting for a belt. Like, you know, if I think of some fighters, I'm not going to name any names just yet, but like, you know, you're looking and they're like 5-6 fights in and they're kind of still fighting girls that, you know, the record, you know, you're talking like 50 losses, 2 wins. You know, do you think there's a bit too much of that going on?
100%. I think, you know, like people try and take it steady, but there's taking it a bit too steady, but to the point where like you're not progressing as fast as what you naturally should. Obviously, you've got to have a good team around you. With me, I feel like I've got an amazing team around me. Like, I trust my manager with my life. And I've been with him from the start. So that gives me quite a bit of confidence anyway. He wouldn't put me up against somebody that he doesn't feel I'm ready to box. Yeah. But he knows as well that I'm very, very hungry for big fights. I don't want to be somebody that just sits. A lot of boxers, like what you said, they do hold back a little bit. And they box people that they sort of know they've won it and they don't really get even that much of a challenge. They'll go in and they'll stop 10 girls. They'll be 10-0, they'll stop 10 girls. But you look at the 10 girls they've boxed and they're not really like as good as what they should be boxing. Do you know what I mean? Like they hold back quite a bit. But I think people are different, aren't they? Some people are happy holding back and doing it slowly and everything like that. Obviously you want to do it slowly, but I get a thrill out of fighting somebody good. Do you know what I mean? I want to fight somebody that looks better than me, that people will think it's 50-50. Oh, you'd have to be this, you'd have to do that. Do you know what I mean? Like, I want to fight somebody like that.
Yeah, I agree, because I think, you know, if I was to put myself through the training that, you know, you've just went through a camp and camp life isn't fun, you know, physically, mentally, I don't think I'd have the motivation to put myself through that, knowing that I'm getting into the ring with someone who I am 100% guaranteed to just beat.
Yeah, there's no point in doing it if you know you're gonna go in there and beat somebody that easily. you don't want to be taking that fight. But people do. Do you know what I mean? And then I beat this girl, but you look at their records, you look at them on BoxRec, and like we say, they could have had 30, 40 losses and five little wins against people that have had 30 losses. Do you know what I mean? But it is all up to the person as well. You know, like people, obviously they'll get a call and it will say, oh, do you want to box this girl? They'll look them up and they'll shy away from them. But in my head, like, this is boxing, this is fighting. Do you know what I mean? This is like, I can't shy away from people. Otherwise, if I shy away from them now, if I do get to that level and then a big opportunity comes up, I'm going to want to shy away from somebody that's even better than those people. Do you know what I mean? There's no point doing it like that.
No, I completely agree. And like you said as well, like, how can you improve if you're not in the ring with girls who have that experience and who are at that level? Like, how are you going to get any better?
Yeah, exactly that. You'll always be held back if you don't have the motivation, I think, to sort of push forward. You know, and like you've got to just go for it, because if you don't, what's the point? Do you know what I mean? If you get given an opportunity, that opportunity could change your life. If you worry, I'm not ready, this or that, then one, don't be doing it. And like, really, because it's, you know, you're going to fight. So if you're not getting ready for it, then that says it in itself, really, doesn't it?
Yeah. I always find it worrying as well. You know, for boxers, that like lack of confidence in the self, there's a problem. Like, there's something going on. Like you say, you know, you're obviously full of confidence. You're going into a big fight, and you know, and it's only your third fight. You're also fighting away, and I think of all your last two fights, they've all been away as well, haven't they?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I just, so obviously after COVID, small hall shows obviously have been a struggle, and until the right deal comes, I'm going to stay sort of like with the team I've got. You know, in time, then obviously promotions will start happening, and we'll get on some good shows in England. But before then, I don't want to hold my career back because of COVID. So, you know, I got offered to fight two girls, one in Czech Republic, who was Czech Republican, if I don't know how you say it.
That's how I'd say it.
she was Czech. And another Polish girl in Poland. No, it wasn't Poland, it was Serbia. So one was in Czech Republic and one was in Serbia. I was staying in Poland. And they was both in their like back garden. Do you know what I mean? But and they, you know, you turn up and they have all their mates turn up and everything like that, and they think we've beat this girl anyway because like it's on their home turf. So you have to have the dominant win. If I don't beat this girl dominantly, then they'll score it to her because it's home judges. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
It is a risk going abroad. Like, it's a big risk, but again, like I like that.
Yeah, I mean, it shows the confidence again that you having yourself, your team having you, but it's like facing that adversity as well so early on, and it's invaluable experience. I think again, it's starting to become missed from people who are turning over. You know, that they're always fighting in their back, you know, their back garden, which is great in one aspect. You've got family, you've got friends there, but I think you're missing a whole load of experience, like what you're doing 100%. Right now.
Yeah, 100%. And like the thing is what, for example, say you've got people that box in England, they're flying people over from these countries and just boxing them in England. So they've got that home advantage, and they've got everyone there that they want there, blah blah blah. It's easy for them. Shush, Rufus, sorry, it's my dog. Whereas I'm doing like I'm boxing the same people as what I'll be boxing in England, but I'm just going out there to box them to progress it a bit quicker, because otherwise I'll be waiting for ages for these fights to happen. Like after COVID, obviously things have been quite slow, but this is my third fight. I could have boxed more than what I have, but I've turned down a couple for this belt in case I got injured. So, do you know what I mean? But like I'm getting a lot more experience and a lot more fights offered to me by going away.
Yeah, definitely, because you're seeing girls who have turned over, and actually some are signing with, you know, major promoters. Yeah, they've only got out like once or twice, but they've been pro like, you know, a year and a half. And I'm thinking, you know, when you turn over, you need to be active, because you're still like even if you've got a bucket load of amateur experience, like you said before, being pro is like a different sport, really, isn't it? So if you're not active, you're going to really struggle, I think.
Exactly that. And with me, as an amateur, I like there's quite a few times where I was meant to be boxing and it pulled through and everything like that. So like with me, I sort of carried that, like I've been doing it for years and years and years, and like I just want to be active now. And I knew that when I turned pro, like this is a big journey now. Do you know what I mean? It's a big career. I want to be as active as possible because I want to have all that confidence that I've got. I'm going abroad and I'm having confidence. When they come to me, I'm going to have even more confidence. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And but also I love it as well. You go out and, do you know what I mean? You see different places. I'd never go to Serbia. Yeah. If it was boxing. Do you know what I mean? Like, yeah. You see countries, but you've got to be confident because you are boxing in their home turf.
Yeah, exactly. You know, boxing's renowned for, isn't it? How many dodgy results do you see, and how many wins go to that home fighter? But you know, you're sitting there watching it thinking there's absolutely no way they've won that. So, like you say, you have to go with confidence.
Well, like the first fight I had as a pro, so I boxed her in Serbia as well. She turned up with all the officials. Like she actually turned up with the officials, like the judges and all that, all of our mates. And I've turned up and I thought, you are joking me. Like I've seen them all get out the car and I was getting my hands wrapped. And I was like, oh no, like you are honestly joking. So I thought, like I've got to have a dominant win here, 100%. And like luckily I did that, and I was still thinking it could still go to the Serbian, but luckily it didn't. Like, I made it clear enough. Do you know what I mean? Like, but even with that, I was thinking, you're joking me. Like that's the last thing you want to see, the officials go boxing. I couldn't believe it.
That is actually brilliant.
Yeah.
And it doesn't surprise me, like anyone else, you know, if you went a boxing fan, you'd be like, that can't happen. That never happened in sport. But
no,
boxing, it's so believable. Like, of course that stuff happens. It's just
exactly that.
But it shouldn't.
Especially like in England, there's a lot that goes by in different countries that you wouldn't get in England as well.
Yeah.
Like I think in the UK they're very strict on every single thing. Abroad they're a little bit more lenient, aren't they? I think when you know, but with things like that, I couldn't believe it. I was thinking, what am I doing? Is this a stupid mistake? My first pro fight, I'm going to lose it, even if I win it, because of like her mates.
And can you imagine that heartbreak? But what's that like then? So, you know, where you've just said, like, you know, you're going into that fight and you're thinking, oh shit, like, you know, she's mates with all the officials. And you know, you've got to the end of that fight, you're standing, you know, the ref's holding your arm, you know, you've won. But what is going through your head at that moment?
If I say I haven't, then I'm going to have a rematch straight away. No, it's it is hard. Like it's one of those where you're obviously really nervous. Like if you've just boxed and you know you've won a fight, but you're abroad, it's just one of those where you just hope you all you can do is just hope you haven't been robbed. Do you know what I mean? Like, but obviously you no matter what, you've still got the experience. But obviously you don't want to have a loss on your card, especially as a pro. So it's one of those where you just got to hope. But I don't know, it's all part of it. I love it. I like a bit of risk, and do you know what I mean? A bit edgy with things like that. So I enjoy it. But some people they get too protective of themselves to the fact that they wouldn't let themselves go abroad for that reason. Do you know what I mean? If you say to somebody, "Oh, I'm going to go and box Serbia in like her back garden," people go, "God, like, well, make sure you make it." It is tricky. It's hard. You've just got to be dominant.
Yeah, and there are very, very few boxers, I think, that do it. And the ones that do always stand out to me. I always have the most respect. You know, obviously you've got yourself, someone like Hannah Rankin's done it. And I always think it pays off in the end. I think, you know, all them fights that you've done in a way, like sometimes it's the middle of nowhere, or you've done it with no friends and no family. It all eventually pays off because you're gaining so much experience, and it's more than what you would do, like you say, if you were just sitting around here waiting for a fight to appear in this country.
Yeah, exactly that. And also, if I was just going to be sitting here waiting for a fight to happen here, you know, I'd be like sort of in a camp, but not giving it 100% because I wouldn't have an exact date and time, like location. But then the phone could go and they could say, "Oh, well, I've got you in 5 days," but because you haven't been training hard enough, because you haven't had a set date and location, you're thinking, "Well, do I even take that now?" Whereas I prefer to just do a camp, know I've got a fight, and box. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
I've had loads of mess ups in the amateurs, to the point where I'd weigh in on the scales with the opponent and they pull out in front of me after like loads of training, loads of travelling. Do you know what I mean? You get it, to the point where now like all I want to do is box. So if I've got the opportunity to box somebody, if it means going over there, it means going over there. Even if I do hate playing journeys.
Yeah. But there must be nothing more heartbreaking as well. I always think, like, you know, going through camp in itself is just, I think, a disgusting process at times. You know, it is like, it's so draining. And then to get to fight week, and even sometimes it's a few days before the actual fight and your opponent pulls out, like that mentally, whether it's in the amateurs or in the pros, doesn't matter. That mentally must be so hard to bounce back from.
100%. Do you know what I really do feel sorry for is, like, at the moment, the pros that are meant to be boxing in England and like their date for their debut and they're being cancelled.
Yeah.
For me, like, I think there's nothing more frustrating. But as an amateur, you're sort of always active because you could get, you know, that it could happen every, like on a weekend, you could just get a call. So I think amateurs there, it's different in that sort of aspect. As a pro, if you train for 5 or 6 weeks, like heavy weeks as well, pros train to amateurs, obviously.
Yeah.
And then you have like a pull out on your debut or on a big fight or whatever. That's hard mentally.
Yeah. And it costs money as well. Like, I think people forget sometimes, you know, you're going through these camps, are very expensive. And then, you know, at the end of the day, you don't fight, you don't get paid. You know, what happens
exactly
then?
That. Like, if you don't fight, you don't get a purse. So obviously you know, like, as long as you box, it's all right. But if you don't box and you go through, you know, like a camp, you got to think, you've got nutritionists, you've got everything under the sun. Do you know what I mean? Like, every camp's different. You need to bring in this person or that person, or you need to do this or do that. And then it pulls through. Then obviously that's it. It's down to you, isn't it?
Yeah, that's it.
That's why, like, you've got to make it happen. Do you know what I mean? Like, if things aren't happening in England, then go and make it happen somewhere else. That's the way that I look at it. Otherwise, you're just waiting around for something, aren't you? Things don't just get given to you as well.
No, that's it. Like you say, I mean, you know, sitting around waiting. And I think, you know, I've seen a few who have struggled to make their pro because of, like what you've just said, they get cancelled and things like that. And I do think if I was in that situation, I would do what you've done and just take the opportunity. I would be bothered where they are. You just want to get out and fight, wouldn't you?
Exactly that. Like, you just got to do it. And I think that it's obviously a big leap. Do you know what I mean? This fight is going to be quite hard because I haven't gone above 4 rounds. This fight is 8 rounds. So it's sort of like I'm doing 2 fights on the trocks. It's a title fight. So I've literally only ever, my last 2 pro fights have been 4 rounds. As an amateur, it's all 3 rounds. Do you know what I mean? So this is straight into 8 rounds, which is another thing. Boxing abroad against, like, their home girl for 8 rounds. It's strong. Like, it's going to be a hard fight. But I'm not going to sit here and say no to an opportunity to get a belt. I wouldn't be able to do that. I'll be laying in bed thinking somebody else is saying yes to it.
Yeah, that's it.
I mean, that somebody else would snap the opportunity up. So you can't wait around.
And is that the reason that you didn't go for obviously you can't go for 6 rounds in a title fight. So is that the reason you thought, you know, I won't put off the belt, I need to get it now, rather than thinking, oh, I'll have 1 or 2 more fights, I'll go at 6 rounds and then, you know, try for the belt?
But well, obviously I could have done the 6 round fight, which if this fight wasn't for a belt, I would have gone to 6 rounds. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because, like, then you're easing yourself into it.
Yeah.
But we got offered the belt, and it was just like we had a little think about it. Do you know what I mean? We had a little chat with, like, my manager, and 6 rounds, 8 rounds, two more rounds difference, 4 minutes. Like, it's a lot when you're getting hit, but you're gonna have to just do it. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like, this girl's good. She's never been stopped or knocked out or anything like that. She's always got the distance, and she's done plenty of 8 round fights as well. She's done 6 round fights, so she's experienced a lot more than that sort of thing as me. But you know, obviously experience does help you when you're inside the ring. But with me, I'm going to be getting the experience every round anyway. So I can't say no.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Like, this is what I've trained my whole life for. I can't turn around and say no, because then I might be waiting another 10 fights to get the same opportunity. Then I'll be laying in bed boxing that night.
Yeah, because when your opportunity comes, if you turn it down, there's no guarantee it comes the next time. You might never get that opportunity again, or it might, do you know what I mean? I think that's the funny thing with, like, timing is everything in boxing. Yeah,
exactly that. Like, my management wouldn't have given me the choice to box if they didn't think I would be right for it. They wouldn't even mention it. If something comes, if an offer comes in that isn't worth taking, then they wouldn't even mention it to me. Do you know what I mean? Everything goes through my management. But with this fight, if I said no to it, I'll be laying in bed thinking, that was one I couldn't have beaten that girl. And then, do you know what I mean? Then I'll box, I wouldn't box her, and then like I'll be waiting another 10 fight opportunities to come if it ever would come again.
Yeah.
Whereas if I take this, loads more doors going to open.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. That's it. So I know you're obviously not going to look past this fight because no one does. This fight's obviously your priority, but are you looking to get out again before the end of the year and obviously keep active?
Obviously, I want to be as active as what I possibly can, and I won't say no to a fight. I won't say no like box, but this fight is it's like tunnel vision for this fight at the moment, and then we'll go from there. But yeah, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, definitely.
I want to be as active as what I possibly can be.
Yeah, and what weight are you fighting at?
So it's bantamweight.
So I mean, obviously bantamweight domestically quite a very nice division. Have you again, I know you're not looking past this fight, but just if we look at the bigger picture domestically, is there anyone that you think down the line you'd really like to fight?
No, so my weight it varies a lot because I'm going between like 51 kilos to like 55 kilos.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sort of like up and down a little bit. So it's not just that we're looking at. Do you know what I mean? We're looking at super band. You're looking at a few different. The weight classes are all over the shop, aren't they? For females, you get like males and female weight classes are all completely different. So anyone sort of between 50. At being an amateur, I've no kilos a lot more than all these fancy names. Between 51 to 55 kilos, anywhere around there, I just want to take like step by step. Just take whoever I sort of can at that weight, really.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's no. I haven't got any like domestic like rivalries in boxing or anything like that. I'll just see what happens. Do you know what I mean? See like who comes up, and then obviously as I get better, as I progress, then there's going to be certain other belts I'm going to want and things like that, and then those belts will come. Those fights will come.
Yeah. So again, it's about timing, isn't it? Like who's got the belts at what time and things like that again.
Yeah, exactly that, because everything can change as well. Do you know what I mean? Like at the end of this year, things can change by next year. Like the thing that happened with Shannon Courtney, I didn't see that happening. Do you know what I mean? Like, for example, that fight, like she was a world champion. Now she's lost her belt. But then you'd think, do you know what I mean? I sparred Shannon Courtney, and I didn't see her losing the belt. But obviously, then she's lost it.
Mm-hmm.
You can say one person, but anything can change by the time you get there. So.
Yeah, that's completely right. What did you think about the Shannon Courtney fight and like the build up? Obviously she lost the belt on the scales and I felt really bad for her, actually, to be fair. I don't think many others did for some reason, but I felt really bad for her. What did you think of that whole situation?
I felt like there was a few excuses, if I'm honest. In terms of I think this was the third time they was going to meet, so there's been 2 pullouts before this fight.
Yeah, with injury,
Yeah, and then she made like that excuse up on the scales as to why she was heavy. Okay, fair enough. But then she had a knee support on, but she didn't have the knee support on for the public workout.
Yeah.
So then I got a bit, I don't think she had the knee support on for the public workout. So then I was a bit confused about what was hurting.
Yeah.
Then I was thinking, why she hurt her knee now? And then I think after the fight, she thought she won it, didn't she?
Yeah, I mean, I was ringside for that fight.
Think you can win a fight. You can think you've won a fight that you haven't, or you could think you've lost a fight and you won it. Like that's happened to me as an amateur. I thought I've lost a fight and I've won one. Do you know what I mean? So like it's one of those where you can think something different, but I just think the excuses weren't 100%. I don't know. I just don't know whether she wanted that fight. I think she was a little bit nervous for it. I think she was a bit scared and didn't want to take it.
Yeah, and when that fight got announced, I was surprised because I know Jamie's been a bit inactive, but she's a decent fighter. She's got loads of experience in amateurs, and she's fought earlier this year, and she looked really good. And I was like, it's quite a risky fight for that first title defense.
Exciting. She was very exciting.
Yeah. So, but yeah, that knee brace when Shannon come out with that, I was very, like you said, I was surprised by that because I thought we would have definitely heard of that prior to that fight.
Exactly that. I thought if there was going to be any sort of excuse, it's like she was sort of trying one thing, then she was trying another thing. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's like she lost her belt in the scales. And I think if you lose a belt in the scales because of a reason, if that was actually like all legit, like, and she's lost her belt in the scales, that would mentally really mess you up because like you'd be thinking, I have to win this fight. Do you know what I mean? Like, I have to win it. She would have had to win it anyway, but it's even more pressure. Everyone's talking about you, like saying like, oh, she's lost her belt. Like if I, for example, if I was in her position and I was too heavy, I lost my belt in the scales, I'll be thinking, well, everyone's talking about me that I've lost the belt, blah 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 blah. That would be mentally quite hard to take. The night before a fight, that's a lot. But then the knee brace, I just didn't understand. I think if somebody's hurt their knee and it's to the point where that knee brace was massive, do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, it was.
If it was a big bit of damage, I think people would know if you would have had it in a public workout.
Yeah.
But I don't know. But what do you think? What do you think of the fight?
I thought Jamie won very convincingly. I was shocked that Shannon was shocked. Like, that was the bit that shocked me the most. I was a bit like, and she was like, yeah, and like I said, because I was there, I couldn't hear like what the corner and that was saying, but I was like, what were the corner saying for her to think she'd won? That's the bit I couldn't quite understand, because she did come out in one of the later rounds. I think it was like either round 7 or 8, and looking like she needed the knockout. And then I was like, why are you so surprised that you've lost? And I couldn't, because really, I mean, your corner needs to be fairly honest with you in some degree, because 100%. You know, if you're losing, you need to go out and win. So I was a bit like, I didn't get the whole vibe at the end of it at all.
No, and her coach was like whispering something in her ears. The cameras couldn't see it, but I couldn't work out, like, they must have been saying that she was winning it, because then she started sort of getting a little bit cocky inside the ring. Did you see her like hand? Yeah. She started getting a little bit cocky towards that Jamie, and I was thinking, you don't want to be getting cocky. Like, you're gonna be hurt to win this fight. And then she was like, she had loads of marks on her face. She looked a bit battered up. And she sat there like, I was slipping all the shots. If you're slipping a shot, you wouldn't have a bruise on you, would you?
Yeah, she was, and I say, like, I think in that post fight, you know, when they were sitting at the side of the ring, she was like, oh, like you've just said, oh, barely got touched, and I was like, I don't know what fight you thought you were at.
Exactly that.
A little bit delusional, I thought, and is that, like, you know, like I said, like I don't know what the corner were telling her, but how important it is, like, in a way, like, honesty during your fights and when you're coming into the corner, because if you're getting a bit of like bullshit and a bit of hype each round, you're surely not getting an honest reflection of what you need to go out and do.
Yeah, 100%. Honesty is so important. As again, like, my coach, he's been with me from the start of my boxing career, and like every time I've like been losing around, or every time I've got to pick something up, or any time I've got to dig in deeper, or I've sort of just got to like step it, like, he's told me, do you know what I mean? He's brilliant with that. And I know I can trust him as well. If I come back to the corner and I say something, like, he's going to give me the honest response. So I think that's so important. She obviously didn't have that by the looks of things, and I think that's also a way in which you sort of like look when you look like she looked so shocked. Her corner should have said, like, right, this is a bit, if they don't even want to say you've lost it, say like, this could be tight in the scorecards, like, just so she doesn't then have the response she had, because then everyone was then talking about that. Yeah. You know what I mean? Everyone was saying, like, how could Shannon think? Like, if, for example, if I boxed in that fight, I reckon, like, John, my coach, would have said, like, right, like, probably lost this fight, like, but don't worry, like, we'll get it again, but you probably would have. And then, like, you wouldn't look like that. You would sort of just be a bit humble. Do you know what I mean? Take the defeat, congratulate Jamie, and then leave it there. But she was obviously completely different to that. But that could be due to her, because you could think in a fight you are like moving out the way of shots. Obviously, you feel quite a few shots, but you might think you've landed more, or you've landed cleaner or heavier shots. You can think that, but it is also your corner's job to tell you. But also, you should have the experience to know, like, if your face is hurting, you've obviously caught a shot in you.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, and I do understand, like you've just said, I think, like, the emotion and being in the moment and things like that, sometimes you probably do think you're performing maybe better than you are, or I think she felt like she was hurting Jamie, but I personally don't think Jamie looked hurt at all, but no, that's fine. But,
as well, isn't it?
Yeah, that's it. So you've got all of that. So I kind of get it where she thinks, I might have scraped that, but like you say, I was like a bit baffled by the corner. I always think, like, I love listening to the corner cam on all the fights. It's like my favorite thing, and I love when coaches, like you've just said, like with your coach, who are honest. Like, you obviously don't want negativity, because that's going to do you no good, but it's having, in a way, like positive criticism. So you're going 100%. Out and performing your best in each round. Yeah,
100%. At the end of the day, like, with me, I'm very good at taking criticism. Like, I don't want to know what I'm doing right. I've got 1 minute. Tell me what I need to do more. Yeah. Do you know? Because like that, tell me how I'm going to win it. Don't, because otherwise, that you're just gonna you're not going to know where you're
where you
missing
are.
or what you're doing, or exactly that. So but I think it's so important. And like I coach a few like up and coming like juniors and things like that, and anytime they're like they don't have their hands up or anything like that, I'll tell them what they've done right, but I'll tell them that after. Do you know what I mean? When if they're sparring or whatever they're doing, they need to know what they're doing wrong, because that's where they're learning.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, because like you say, you can't just blow smoke up someone's arse, so can you, and just make out like they're brilliant all the time. Because again, like we were saying before, you're not going to improve either, are you? You're always just going to stay at that same level.
Yeah, exactly that. And you've just got to, like, it's all for learning, but in that sort of thing, I think it's how she looks as well. And social media can be very like, it can be daunting, can't it? Like social media,
it's brutal.
we're talking about you, things like that. People were talking about her when she lost the belt on the scales, and then people were talking about her because of her response, like not being very humble towards Jamie. I understand she just lost your world title, but you can still congratulate somebody and like not be a bit arrogant towards them. Do you know what I mean? Because by her being arrogant isn't going to put the belt magically back on her waist.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think there's a bit of arrogance there. I think she could have dealt with it a little bit differently.
Yeah, like I say, I mean, if someone's beat you, I think you should have respect for them. You know, they've come out, they've obviously performed better that night, and you just got to move on, haven't you? Just get over it. Yeah, and move on to the next one.
Yeah.
You've just said that you do a bit of coaching with like some of the younger ones. Is that what you do as a side? Like, do you have a job? Because I know obviously a lot of people have to have, either part-time jobs, full-time jobs to mix in with the boxing when they turn over.
So I'm lucky because I've got good sponsors like around me as well. So I like full-time boxing, and then I do a lot of like coaching on the side and things like that. But for me, it's full-time boxing. Like even as an amateur, to be honest with you, I was working a little part-time job, like earning nothing, just so I could box sort of full-time. Do you know what I mean? I didn't ever want to have a full-time job, even as an amateur, because I knew that with boxing, you give it 100% or nothing. And I was always, as an amateur, I was training with the pros all the time, just until I sort of had the experience to turn over. So when I turned over, I just thought, like, now I've got some good sponsors, do you know what I mean? And they came on board. Like, I was very lucky because I turned pro in COVID, but I got like a few sponsors at that time. So which is lucky, because obviously in COVID a lot of businesses went bad.
Yeah.
So, and then I love coaching and training people. So I'll do that on the side anyway, but it just helps with the boxing experience I get when up and coming boxers want to be like guided and stuff, and I can sort of give them a bit of my input from the experiences I've had. So,
yeah, definitely.
It's good, especially up and coming females as well.
Yeah, well, I was literally about to say, like, how, to have you as a role model must be so important, because I suppose when you were coming up and you started boxing in your journey, there wasn't going to be that many like females around, was there?
No, exactly that. You like Nicola Adams, she just won gold in the Olympics.
Yeah.
I was kickboxing before I was boxing, so but yeah, now seeing like women's boxing is incredible.
Yeah, it really is. And like you say, there's loads of like younger girls you see coming through now, and you think they've finally got like role models like yourself. And if then you're in the gym and you're helping training them as well, that's going to take it like to the next level. Yeah,
exactly that. And, like I do like a couple of kids clubs, and a lot of it's all one-to-ones that I do, but you can see how much they love it at like a young age. My youngest, like the youngest I teach is 4 years old. Like, it's crazy, isn't it? 4 years old, like boxing. And like these kids, like, and then obviously like it goes up and up and up, but like 4-year-old that will come to me for like 45 minutes and have an actual session, like that's crazy.
Yeah,
you get all like girls coming up, and then like do you know what I mean, they start when they're young or whatever, train people at like 16, 17, just starting to get into it a little bit. It's good. It's a mixture of ages.
And that's what I love as well, and I think that's kind of coming into boxing more, where you're seeing people take it up younger. I feel like when you hear of a lot of pros, a lot of them kind of maybe this era took it up a little bit later. Whereas, if you look at other, like my background's tennis, and we have kids who start like 3 and 4, it is incredible. But in boxing, I feel like until of recent times, it was always something that was taken up in teenage years or even later than that. So it is great to see now we've got like kids coming through.
Yeah, like kids going into a boxing session. Like I remember, whilst I was kickboxing, I started boxing, But I didn't really know, like, I just Googled boxing gyms. I didn't really know the difference between like the white collar side of things, the amateur side of things, and the pro side of things. So when I Googled like a boxing gym near me, there was one just down the road, but it was white collar club. So I turned up, walked in there, and I was only young, like I don't even know how old I was. And walked in, there was just like all these muscly men, like all just like smacking bags. Like, I didn't tell them I was going to come down. I just opened up the door. Like, I was only tiny, and like all these massive men were like hitting the bags. And I walked in, I thought like, whoa, like this is crazy, because like my coach back then, he's not my coach now, but my coach like back then, he was a white collar trainer. He never even coached a female. Do you know what I mean? He's never like. And I turned up and I was like, oh, I want to box. Like, and I have a gum shield with me. I was like, I want to spar. Like, they're all men. He was like, I want to spar. I was like, yeah, like, I've done kickboxing. Like, I've got some experience sparring. Like, I want to spar. And he must have thought like, you're mad. But now it's different. You can walk into a boxing gym. You can almost guarantee there's going to be another girl there.
Yes. Yeah.
Which is nice to see.
Yeah, definitely.
Back then, people wouldn't even take you if you was a girl. You know what I mean?
And I've heard loads of stories where, like, you know, girls, like you've said, they wouldn't even accept them in the gym, or they couldn't get sparring, or, you know, they'd turn up with like all the lads and go to another gym and they'd be like, oh no, our lads aren't sparring you because you're a girl. And you're like, how can that happen?
Yeah, because it's one of those where boys don't want to touch girls, but do you know what I mean? Like, they don't want to hit girls, but I don't know. I think if you're in boxing, you know you're going to get hit. It doesn't really matter whether it's a boy or a girl, but
yeah, exactly.
Me, I about 10 went into spar with 50-year-old men. They were massive as well.
What made you change from kickboxing to boxing? There's been a few pro boxers who started out kickboxing.
Do you know what? I couldn't kickbox to save my life.
Oh, really?
I was born with dislocated hips. So
okay.
So like, I was in Great Ormond Street in and out until I was 16 years old. So I'm 23 now. So not even that long.
No way.
Yeah, so like I was kickboxing, and I was like, I can't kick. Like, I just can't kick at all. But my legs they're not flexible. So you see all these people kicking really high, like my leg was like right down here, like kicking towards someone's foot. And then I was winning tournaments because I was tiring. Like, I'd done quite well in kickboxing, because what I was doing was I had like a little strategy where I'd just go in, I'd let them kick as much as what they want. I'll just move around. And then as soon as they drop their leg, I just ran in with my hands. And just like hit them regardless of what I could with my hands. So I was always quite good with my hands. And then I think they clocked onto it in the end. And then they turned around and said to me I had to have a minimum of like it was either 4 or 8 kicks. I can't even remember any. No, it was 8 kicks. I think they said. In the whole kickboxing fight, I had to land 8 kicks if I was going to win the fight. And there was no chance of me landing 8 kicks.
Yeah.
There was no chance that happening. So I quit.
Well, it's worked out better.
Well, yeah, exactly. I didn't just quit though. I like, they said that I went to a boxing gym just to like, because then I knew I'd be able to compete, because I wanted to compete, but I still done the kickboxing on the side, because the kickboxing club was like my family. Do you know what I mean? Like, I still speak to them all now. I've done that for they were always there for me. Do you know what I mean? They helped me out some tough times. So I was always I was always like with them, and I was just like, I won't compete, but I'll just still do the training. So I still do the training like once or twice as I started like the white collar fights, and then when I turned amateur, I sort of quit the kickboxing.
Yeah.
So I had a few white collar fights before I went amateur.
Okay. Yeah, that's another route like a few have taken, haven't they, where they've started like white collar or like the unlicensed stuff and then turned over.
Yeah. I wouldn't have done it if I understood what white collar was, because I think white collar, you can get hurt. Like, they don't do it. It's
dangerous at times, isn't it?
Very dangerous. But I didn't know the differences between them, so I just wanted to box. When I went to the boxing club, and I was like, I'll put you a fight in a month if you want it. I was just like, yeah, take it, because obviously I wasn't doing the kickboxing fights. So I done that. I had 4, and then turned amateur.
Yeah, that white collar. So like, I done a couple of white collars because I was just like you. Like, I went to a boxing gym. It was a white collar boxing gym. I only went to like train, and they were like, "Oh, will you do some fights?" I was like, "Yeah." Then someone rang and was like, "I'll pay you £400 to come down to Derby and lose this fight against this girl so she can win some title." And I was like, "All right." That's like 400 quid will do me.
Exactly that. And back then I was thinking, like, because obviously like you get ticket money or whatever, you get a little purse. And I thought I was a pro. Like, I thought I'd made it. My first white collar club. My first white collar fight was at the Coco Club in London. That's where that's closed down now. But that's where all the singers used to like Lucy Spray. All of them have all been there like singing. So I was thinking like, God, the Coco Club in London, like that's crazy. I thought I done it there, and I was getting paid like a little purse, doing like a little scrappy white collar thing. No, I think, what was I doing?
Yeah, feel like you've made it at the time, but
yeah. But to be honest with you, there were good shows. There's a good female promoter, Nina Cranston, and she was one that done the show at the Coco Club, and she did always guide me perfectly. So shout out to Nina, because she was brilliant. And like anytime anybody else said, "Oh, box on this white collar show," she sort of like always had my back and said, "Don't do that." Do you know what I mean? She kept me on like a path where I wouldn't get hurt. And then because I think she knew I was going to take it quite far, so she always protected me until I got a little bit of experience to go amateur with.
Yeah, so, and that's the one you need, especially in white collar, because to be fair, I've been to some and they've been fine, and they've actually been like really nice shows. But then I've been to some and you're like, oh my God, I don't know how this happened.
Yes, some of them you just got to be careful with. Like you just got to be careful. You got to make sure that they're weighing in front of you. Do you know what I mean? Somebody tried to make me box somebody 8 kilos heavier than them. Like you've got like that's a lot of weight.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Big old weight. I was only about 48 kilos at the time. So
yeah. You'd feel that.
Yeah, exactly that. It's tough, but
yeah. Okay, so obviously you've got your fight coming up Sunday, so you've had a really good camp. So what's the plan now? So obviously we're on Monday at the minute. So what happens leading up to this fight?
So now it's just like last little bits that I need to do. Like little bits of training, you know what I mean? Just sharpen up a little bit. Then fly on Friday. Weigh in Saturday.
Yeah.
Box Sunday. So this
win the
week,
title, come home.
Yeah, exactly that. Win that and come back. I still train this, like, so everyone's different. Some people like having a complete rest week before they box. Some people take it nice and steady. Like I'm quite active, so I quite like being on my toes still. And when I get to Serbia, then you like rest out there. So I'll probably train still up until like Thursday.
Right. Okay. And then fly Friday.
Yeah. Or train up until Wednesday.
Yeah.
Like Thursday rest, then fly Friday.
Yeah. Because it's a balance, I suppose. If you start tapering off too early, obviously you're not going to peak at the right time then. So obviously it's that balance, isn't it? And like you say, everyone's individual, aren't they? It's what suits you.
Yeah, well, like my first pro fight, I was advised to have like a little bit of a longer rest before I flew, and then when I got there, like I wanted pads when I got there because I felt like I was tired because I wasn't doing anything. Second pro fight, trained literally up until the day I boxed, and then I felt miles better. So this time I'll have a little bit of rest, but I'm not going to just switch off for a week, like for a few days. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, Laura, thank you so much for your time. Really enjoyed chatting with you.
And that's all right, no problem.
Best of luck on Sunday. I can't wait for you, to bring back the belt as well. Exciting times ahead as well.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, exactly. I can't wait.
Thanks for watching. Make sure you hit like and subscribe to our channel where we have new videos dropping all of the time. Also head over to our social media pages where we have the latest boxing news as well as interviews and live coverage from boxing events.